Another really repetitive habit that I have when my OCD and anxiety is at an all-time high has to do with my appearance. This is one that is extremely embarrassing for me, but I want to talk about it because I feel like when I talk about it, I take power back. Getting the diagnosis almost made me feel more free. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Rachel and I would absolutely love it if you hit that red subscribe button down below and join the family. If you are a returning viewer or subscriber, you know how much I love you and I really appreciate you coming back for another video. In today's video, we are going to be talking about something really serious. Today is going to be all about mental health. You guys know that I have had my fair share of mental health struggles, specifically with bulimia nervosa and binge eating disorder. I've been really open on my channel about my experience in therapy and overcoming those mental health hurdles that really contributed to who I am today and the way that I think, the way that I process. And I am currently experiencing some struggles with my mental health, and I really want to be transparent with you guys. I feel like in the past few years, the world has really made a change when it comes to discussing mental health and normalizing the topic of getting help and that it's okay if you need help. And I really want to talk to you guys about what I'm currently going through and the steps that I'm taking to try and better my mental health. I also want to talk to you guys about what my current situation actually looks like, what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis, and the way that it's actually affecting my life. I know that a lot of people talk about anxiety, depression, eating disorders, OCD, etc., but very rarely do people get into the details of what that actually looks like in their daily life, and I want to talk to you guys about that. You guys know that I am so passionate about mental health. It's what I've built a career around, and it's something that I believe everybody needs help with at certain points in their life, and I believe that everybody deserves to be able to get help. That is one of the reasons that I am so excited to tell you guys that I do have a sponsor for today's video, and I want to thank BetterHelp for sponsoring this video. I feel really strongly that everybody should have the opportunity to get outside help, especially when they're struggling with their mental health, and BetterHelp gives everybody the opportunity to have access to a therapist at a much more affordable cost than traditional therapy. If your mental health is taking a toll on your daily happiness and interfering with your everyday life, then I can guarantee that it is preventing you from achieving your goals. BetterHelp will assess your needs and match you with an online licensed professional therapist. You're able to start communicating with them within 48 hours. It's totally different than a crisis line or a self-help line. It is actual professional therapy that's done securely online. It can be really difficult to find a therapist in your area, as I'm sure a lot of you guys know, and BetterHelp makes it so much easier with a broad range of expertise in over 20,000 therapists. This is available for all of you worldwide, no matter where you're currently at. You can log in anytime and send a message to your therapist. And you can also set up weekly video calls or phone calls, which is absolutely incredible, especially with what's going on in the world right now. BetterHelp is committed to facilitating great therapeutic matches, so it's easy and seamless to change therapists as needed. As I mentioned, it's going to be more affordable than traditional therapy, which makes it much more accessible to so many different people. They also offer financial aid so that there's nothing holding you back from being able to put yourself first and start working on your mental health today, which you guys know I am a huge advocate for. You guys can visit BetterHelp today, and that's betterhelp.com, and join over 1 million people taking charge of their mental health today, which is absolutely incredible. I love this movement. I love this company. I love what they stand for. You guys are going to get 10% off your first month if you visit betterhelp.com/rachelhughes. And again, that's betterhelp.com/rachelhughes. I just want to say thank you so much again to BetterHelp for sponsoring this video and partnering with me in this mission to help people take charge of their mental health. So as you guys know, I share a huge part of my life online, right? Like I show you guys my kids, I've opened up to you guys about my eating disorder and specifically what that looked like for me. You guys know that I've been fortunate enough to be recovered for 6 years, which is absolutely incredible and something that I'm really, really proud of. But something that I've learned in my life, specifically with the trauma that I've gone through, that just because you've been through something really difficult definitely doesn't mean that you're immune to anything else difficult happening again. And so although my mental health has been honestly thriving since I recovered from my eating disorder, it doesn't mean that I'm not susceptible to other mental disorders that can come into play at different times in my life. And I really started to notice that there was an issue with my mental state after I gave birth to my last baby, Blakely. You guys know that I'm 12 months postpartum currently, and I developed postpartum anxiety like the second that I gave birth to her. My anxiety is something that I'm sure a lot of postpartum mothers are really familiar with. I also had a lot of trauma, of course, as you guys know, associated with giving birth, associated with having a newborn baby. And that was really sensitive and difficult for me. Just to kind of give you guys an idea of what that looked like and just to kind of get vulnerable for a second. When I took Blakely home, my anxiety was so severe that I would not leave the room. Whatever room she was in was the room that I was in at all times, no matter what. My husband would help me practice like leaving the room by literally me like walking out of the room and walking down the hallway. And it was so severe that I would be hysterically bawling trying to do that. I would not go upstairs. We were living in my parents' basement at the time because our home was being built, and I would not go upstairs to get food unless I took my daughter with me. I was so afraid of being without her, and even just talking about it kind of brings back those emotions because I had this overwhelming feeling of this is too good to be true. Like someone's going to take her from me. It was such an abnormal feeling to have my baby with me postpartum, because you guys know that unfortunately I didn't have that experience with Beckham. And so that anxiety was like really high, but I did start to work through it and it started to kind of mellow out. So I thought, okay, I'm getting better, you know, this is just temporary. As my postpartum experience progressed, that's kind of the mindset that I kept, was I was having this really bad anxiety, but it wasn't quite as high as when I first brought Blakely home, but it definitely did continue to manifest and progress as time went on. But I kept this mindset like this is all just totally temporary and it just has to do with me being postpartum. So I was just kind of living day to day thinking it's gonna get better, it's gonna get better. Like the further I get away from having my baby, the closer I'm getting to having my mental health back. And I just thought, you know, this is just me struggling with postpartum. Unfortunately, as time went on and just more recently in the past, I would say like 4 to 5 months, I have noticed that other issues have really been coming to the surface, and my anxiety is manifesting itself at an all-time high. It's very unpredictable and it's very crippling, and it prevents me from living a normal day-to-day life. And anxiety is always the way that I personally would label what I'm feeling. I would say things to Hunter, again, just to give you like an example of what it would look like. If something was really stressing me out or not allowing me to accomplish the things that I needed to get done and interfering with my life, I would just use the term, I'm so stressed, I have so much anxiety. And over time, I started to notice that I was really having like OCD mannerisms with a lot of things in my life. I also want to say that there's absolutely nothing shameful about OCD or anxiety, but I do feel a little bit embarrassed talking about it. But if there's one thing that I have learned from my previous experience with recovery, mental health, therapy, it's that all addictions thrive in secrecy, and all mental health struggles thrive in secrecy, and they don't thrive in the way that we want them to. And I feel it is so important, just with any sort of platform or with any sort of voice, that speaking out about mental health and normalizing the idea of getting help and what it looks like day to day is really important and is going to help people feel a lot less alone and a lot less ashamed. So that's my goal in sharing my personal experience. And so, as embarrassed as this makes me feel, I want to talk to you guys about what it actually looks like when I'm having these anxiety attacks or panic attacks, or when I'm really struggling with my OCD at an all-time high. One of the most common ways that it manifests, that I struggle with day to day, is having a really, really clean environment around me. So I am very, very, very uptight about how my house is. I want it to be perfectly clean and perfectly organized, and it gives me severe anxiety to be able to see messes. So as long as I can't see it, as long as it's put away or behind a door, behind a cabinet, then I'm okay. But I cannot see it. When there are things on the counter, it physically makes my body react in a negative way. And like I said, I would have previously called that just having really high anxiety. But after going to see a therapist, I've learned with the start of these behaviors that it is actually OCD, and that OCD and anxiety go very hand in hand. Another really repetitive habit that I have when my OCD and anxiety is at an all-time high has to do with my appearance. This is one that is extremely embarrassing for me, but I want to talk about it because I feel like when I talk about it, I take power back and I have power over my anxiety. You guys know with my eating disorder that I was able to learn how to separate myself from my eating disorder in therapy. And I, of course, am Rachel, and my eating disorder was Ed, a person completely separate from me that I was able to take power and control back from Ed. And I've fortunately been blessed with a very phenomenal therapist and have been learning the same thing with my OCD. And we've given my OCD a name, and I'm able to take back some of that control when I recognize that these thoughts are manifesting. And so when my OCD is, again, manifesting at an all-time high, it affects how I feel about my appearance a lot. And of course, I'm more prone to body dysmorphia and perfectionism because of my eating disorder, but it's manifesting in a really different way now. Something that is very crippling for me is social events, or even just like get-togethers with friends. I have a very, very difficult time like getting done up and getting ready without severe feelings of OCD and anxiety. So one way that that really affects me is I have severe perfectionism when it comes to what my makeup looks like. And when I am doing my makeup, if I feel like anything looks incorrect or is not done to my standard, then I will take all of my makeup off and wash my face again and then redo it. And it's as bad as that happening like 3 or 4 times in one night or one sitting just while I'm trying to get ready to go somewhere, which of course creates a big issue around time frames and just stress leading up to the event. And it obviously takes a huge toll on my self-esteem. My skin will burn from removing my makeup and putting it on so many times in one sitting. This is something that literally only Hunter knows about me. Hunter is the only person that knows because he sees it happen. He watches it happen. And of course, he's very, very supportive. And I've been working through it in therapy and have set some really incredible goals. But that is just an example of what that OCD and anxiety can look like for me on a day-to-day basis. Another way that it manifests itself, and I'm using that term just for lack of a better term, is every day when I get ready to go to the gym, I just like put on some tinted sunscreen. I'm super, super comfortable going out with no makeup. My anxiety surrounding makeup is when I am doing like a full face of makeup for an event. If I am not wearing makeup, I don't feel anxiety, but if I am going to get ready, I have to fully get ready or not be ready at all, and I've always been that way. And I'm now realizing that's because of mental hurdles that I'm working on overcoming. But another big thing for me is I have a ton of anxiety over putting my hair in a ponytail. I know that sounds so ridiculous, but it is something that is literally crippling for me. It is very, very difficult for me when I am getting ready to go to the gym in the morning. I will sometimes redo my ponytail up to like 10 times in the morning. And I know it probably doesn't look any different to anybody else, but even if it's like a messy ponytail, it has to look exactly messy the way that I want it. If one little hair is out of place, I feel anxious about that. And that is obviously like really crippling on my self-esteem, my time frames, etc. And it's something I'm super embarrassed about. And I'm just gonna be like really honest with you guys about that. But I know that it's not normal. I know that it's not rational. And I know that that's not me, and that it's my OCD and my anxiety, and that I'm going to be able to overcome that, and that these are just small behaviors that have nothing to do with who I am, and that I will be able to overcome them. And I'm of course seeking professional help for that. I also have really severe anxiety and OCD about time frames. If you know me and you're watching this video, you probably know that I am late to literally everything. And I know that being late like typically will stress people out, but it's like an unnatural amount of anxiety surrounding time frames. And obviously as an adult, I can't function in society if I can't handle the fact that I have to be to certain places at certain times. And I am working on overcoming that, but that is something that is very, very hard for me and has been hard for me for quite a long time, but it has gotten worse since I've had kids because it's obviously harder to get out of the house. And I really get stuck on like that one thought, and it just loops in my mind and becomes really overwhelming on me that people are upset with me for being late, or that I just shouldn't go if I'm gonna be late. Traffic really stresses me out, etc. And so those are just a few examples of some small ways that it manifests in my everyday life that make it really crippling to just function normally. So now that I've shared a couple of those things that I feel are very secretive for me, that nobody really knows about, that I feel very, very just embarrassed and vulnerable to talk about, I want to talk to you guys a little bit about like what I do when I'm feeling those feelings of anxiety. So with sharing all of those little things that affect me a lot on a day-to-day basis, if I'm able to fulfill like an urge that I'm having to like get a perfect ponytail or get a perfect face of makeup or clean the kitchen or pick up all of my kids' toys, when I'm able to do that and I'm able to like look at a perfectly clean house, or I feel good about the way that I got ready and I'm able to go to an event, I feel an overwhelming sense of relaxation. And that's obviously a false sense of security, and that's something that I have been learning as I've gotten myself back into therapy. I have been learning about attachment styles and the way that two specific instances that I have a ton of trauma surrounding have really affected me and affected the things that are coming to the surface, even though it's been years since those events have happened. As I mentioned, I'm learning about attachment styles, and there's a secure attachment style and an avoidant attachment style. And I have a very severe avoidant attachment style. So when I have a need, the way that I think it can be fulfilled is typically through addictive behaviors like anxiety, OCD, eating disorders. For others, that may look like substance abuse, pornography, gambling, etc. Being back in therapy and learning what my mind is doing and learning the way that I'm processing and the reason that I'm reacting to certain things the way that I am has given me so much power and so much hope, because I have done this before. I have gone into a therapist's office feeling like there was no light at the end of the tunnel, like I was never going to be able to overcome what I was struggling with. And this time around, I can walk into my therapist's office and unload everything that I'm feeling and experiencing. And as I'm learning these tactics and tools to be able to overcome it, I know for a fact that it works. I know that if I seek outside help and I just continue practicing and implementing these tools that help me separate myself from my addiction or my disorders or whatever I'm dealing with, that I can slowly take that power back. So that's what I'm currently working on in therapy. And as you can tell by the title of this video, I was clinically diagnosed with OCD and anxiety. And it's very, very odd, but getting the diagnosis almost made me feel more free, because it made me realize there is an imbalance in my brain. This is not normal. And any experience that I've ever had with that before, I've come out on top and I've beaten it. And I know that this time is going to be no different. And I really hope that me talking about this encourages you, that if you are feeling any of these feelings, even if they manifest for you in different ways, that there is light at the end of the tunnel. And I didn't get the opportunity to share the journey as it was progressing with my eating disorder with you guys. And I really wanted to take the opportunity with what I'm doing now to share it with you, because I'm gonna have good weeks, I'm gonna have bad weeks, and I don't want to be someone online that appears to be perfect. I don't want you to think that I have my shit together all the time, because I don't. I have daily struggles just like you do, and my life is not perfect, and I want to be able to share the really good days and the really bad days. I know that you guys will get to know me better and be closer to me, and like, I feel like you guys are my friends, like my best friends. I feel like the reason that you make those strong connections is because you're vulnerable with each other. And when I read your guys' comments and hear your stories, and I know that this video is going to get comments of you guys sharing your experience with OCD or anxiety or your mental health and what you've done to overcome it or what you're currently struggling with. And I want to be as open with you guys as you are with me. So thank you for making this a really safe environment to share the ups and the downs. And I am going to be sharing with you guys what I'm working on in therapy and what therapy looks like for me. And I am actually going to be making a completely separate video on the experiences with trauma that I am currently working through, because not only am I working on my OCD and anxiety in therapy, I have actually started EMDR therapy. And I would really love to share my experience with EMDR, but I am not far enough into it to make a full video on it yet, but that will be coming. I want to thank you guys again for clicking on this video. I genuinely love you, and I can feel your support pouring in, and it means the absolute world to me. Thank you for making it a really safe environment to share the ups and downs of my life. I swear I have the best subscribers in the entire world, and I'm so grateful for you guys. If you haven't subscribed yet, I would absolutely love for you to hit that red subscribe button down below and join the family. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. It helps out my channel, and I would love for this video to reach those who need it. Once again, I love you guys, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye.